Hey everybody, it's Bust with Battles with Bust number 97, and today we're going to be doing battle with Aphelios Fizz. And so this is a very interesting deck to me. I won't delve into the history too much, but I do believe that in the last month of the previous set, the last month before the World Walker came out, Aphelios Fizz was just far and away the best deck in the format. I had a fairly poor matchup against Yumi Pantheon, but it was pretty strong against everything else in the format, and it never really kind of like rose to the prominence which I felt it deserved. I felt like it was kind of the space that we saw Fizz Riven in this format, to where Fizz Riven just has an outstanding matchup table against the top 5 and 6 decks of the format, but nobody actually plays it. And I think this deck was kind of in the same boat in the previous meta, and it's like, what didn't convert? What didn't follow up with this deck? As to where it kind of like fell from grace once the World Walker came out. And so there is, kind of a bad matchup component to it. This deck struggles against the big overwhelm strategies, and so the Frozen Thralls falls in that to a degree. The Alawi Rally style decks also fall into that camp, and so this did struggle against some of the kind of like top meta contenders. But now, as the meta has kind of balanced out, the Talia Lysandra Thrall's deck is only like 5% of the meta. It's the most common deck in the meta, but at 5%, who gives a crap? And we should be able to kind of like reasonably dodge all of our bad matchups. And so if we only have to play the bad matchups like 20% of the time, and we get to play against everything else like 80% of the time, then this is a deck that can like really, really shine in this style of format. And so I do think this is pretty well positioned to be a good ladder climber. And it did catch an upgrade with the release of the World Walker. And so if you're not familiar with the deck, it historically had 3 paths to victory, right? You would have kind of the big OTK unit strategy, to where you say either put a Papercraft Dragon onto a Fizz, you put a Papercraft Dragon onto like a spell shielded unit, you generate a Overwhelm with Aphelios, and then you just hit with like a 16 attack Overwhelm double attacker. That is the kind of common strategy number 1. Common strategy number 2 was just kind of playing Aphelios control. You sit around, you gain a bunch of health with a lifesteal, you kill a unit with a 3 damage, you roll into the next turn, you get a double stun, you get a overwhelm, and then through playing like 4 and 5 and 6 moon weapons, you just win the game and doing Aphelios things. That's kind of pillar number 2. And then the last thing is where I thought that this deck had some potential, but it was pretty weak. And that was in the sense of just being this really go wide type strategy, which Faeries is extremely good at, right? Faeries loves to flood the board with Gleaming Lanterns. Very easy to get 6 units on the board, but we don't have any way to take advantage of those. We aren't playing Poppies, we aren't playing 4 Demacias, we aren't playing Yordles in Arms. There's no way within Bandle City Targon to really take big advantage of a complete and full board. And now we do have that. We have that in the Winding Light. And so this really helps us. Like, it's, not common, not rare, kind of in the middle of where it happens, as that, say, you drew 1 Aphelios, he got killed. You played 2 Face Sprouts, you didn't find a Papercraft. And then you've, built up this big board of 6 fairies, where none of them are like really big enough to come in and strike down your opponent. And so the Winding Light does get to kind of come in and take over in those spaces. And so that gives us the 3 pillars of attack, as I like to call them, with style of deck. And so in terms of the gameplay, the way I look at this deck and the way that I always see it is you aren't really looking for Fizz early. The thing you're looking for early is your fairy plan. You're always looking to hit these Gleaming Lanterns. As the games come up, the thing we're going to ask ourselves out of every hand is, does this have a Gleaming Lantern in it? And so if it doesn't have a Gleaming Lantern, if it doesn't have a Face Sprout, we're not going to be keeping any of those cards. That is the big number 1 thing that we can be doing with this deck, and the thing that I think that we're actually trying to take advantage of is, once the Gleaming Lantern's on the board, if you get 2 and 3 turns of just cheating on mana, it's very, very challenging to actually come out and lose those games. And so I think those are the things to keep in mind, right? You want to be building to one of those three paths to victory, whether or not that is a Papercraft Dragon-based kill, an Aphelios control-based kill, or a wideboard Winding Light type of kill. You need to kind of recognize what your hand is capable of doing and what you're building towards, and then every game you're going to look to build towards a Gleaming Lantern start. That's where the raw power really comes up and out of this deck. And so, with that being that, we got to jump on in. We do have to pay a little bit of the pay-to-win price today. I know we had some rare in here that hadn't been leveled up yet. Where'd it go? It wasn't Papercraft Dragon. It was Hush. Makes a little bit of sense. I haven't played tons and tons of Targon throughout our days, but Hush is finally getting there. You get to... It's, let's be real. It's the worst of the premiums when you just burst out a premium. Your opponent doesn't even get to enjoy it. It's a bit of a sad day. But nonetheless, we'll work our way through it. We'll get over it. Won't be that big of a deal. We'll certainly play a premium Hush at some point today. But let's see how these games go. All right, and so like we mentioned, does this hand have a way to get a Gleaming Lantern on the board? It does not. Going to full mulligan everything, even going to full mulligan this Yordle Squire out of here and look for ways to get the Lantern going. Didn't find any, but it's a not too strong hand at this point. No reason to play the Fizz. We can drop him and then try and pokey stick down the Treasure Seeker, but I think we're going to be playing more of just a go wide strategy out of this one. I'm going to try and just build up the board to this Winding Light. What is against all odds again? If your opponent has more units than you, grant an ally 1/1 for each extra they have. That's not too exciting. Sleepy Treble Bubble is moderately exciting since he's playing Mono Viego. Giving us an option to stun Viego can generate a pretty big turn. And I don't think we're going to get too much value out of Group Shot here. So that's a good enough place to stop. We'll take the Treble Bubble and see if we can't improve our board anymore. Okay. No great answers to the soldiers or the things that he's doing. Our hand is all around fairly awkward here. But just trying to get by, trying to have my units do some not dying, and then we'll see about getting this Fizz going. All right. Well, Aphelios came to the party. This still continues to be pretty awkward. I was hoping we would pick up something to do with the assistant librarian, but it's just not going to be the case. I think I want to try and churn through a bit of Aphelios here. I'm going to go for a moon weapon just to take down this Camaveran soldier and then see where that leaves us. I'm not expecting big things out of this turn. Not even really certain that we're going to be able to attack, but the Camaveran soldier is a good unit to be trying to kill. We'll line up the lifesteal. We can potentially burst out 2 spells next turn and get the moon weapon into our hand. And so we'll see if that makes its way around. Seems a little bit better than trying to pick up a double stun, though. Ooh, Trouble Bubble's ready to do its work. Say, protect my Aphelios, please. Give him the protection he needs. Is he going to have another soldier? He does have the Waking Sand, so he does have a pretty guaranteed way to come in and try and take down Aphelios, but... Okay. Does it look like this is going to be a Vile Feast? I mean, I guess he does get to put damage onto the Aphelios without having him die, but yeah. It's pretty certain that was going to be a Vile Feast. Sure. Okay, so how can we get ourselves out of this mess? We gotta pick up a little bit of something here. It's Viego is still pretty intimidating coming down on this board, and then our hand is still just doing nothing. And so let's see where we can go. I'm gonna drop the assistant librarian here. We might be able to get a little something going with the Moon Weapon plus the Librarian. Again, I don't have high hopes for this turn, but something. It's a maybe. I don't think we need the Overwhelm. I'm going to go for the double stun here. Good to be pretty choice next turn.
From darkness, light.
What would be the scary thing here? Like a quicksand? Yeah, whatever. Not worried about this Fizz. We got more in hand. It is a little bit unfortunate to not get in the lifesteal, but I do feel pretty good about him losing out on his quicksand before our next turn when we're looking to make our big attack.
They forced us to choose death or the blade.
They forced us to choose death or the blade. Okay, that should be good enough. We do need to make sure we have 6 mana plus 1 for next turn, right? We need to have 6 mana for the Winding Light, 1 mana for the Dust Petal, so we can Nightfall out the big dude. Do we want to just pick up 2 Coster here? I think, like, at the end of the day, we're just going to drop, like, Fizz and then this turn and then have the Dragon down next turn. I think we might need to fill up our board just a little bit with this thing. I don't think that's going to be a necessity. We're not really doing anything else, though. At least gives us a chance to maybe block something here. You can hush these encroaching mists, right? And that'll put a that'll put the Moon Weapon into our hand. Okay. Sure. So that's been dealt with. Yeah, let's just go for the full board here. So we'll drop in a Fizz. We're gonna drop... Oh, we just gotta stop there, right? Now we're full. If he kills something, it's okay. We have a follow-up unit. All right, let's see how close that one gets us. How much is this? Like 9, 13, 13 plus 4, 17, 17 plus 11? Is that like 28? He currently has 6 health on board. I mean, we're just attacking with everything. There's no stopping us now. We got to bring it in. 27 coming in. It looks like we're going to leave him at like 1. It's quite unfortunate. Leave him at 2. But we do have Fizz, which can potentially do something next turn, and then we should also be able to be wider than him. And so I think one of the important things coming out of this turn, oh geez, have it all, is going to be making sure that we have 3 attack units on the board so that we can like block the Hydrovine and block Viego. So we'll have 1 in the Librarian. Let's just go ahead and add Yordle Squire. We'll add this Crescendum thing. So now, if he wants to attack, we'll have a unit ready to block the Hydrovine, and then if he drops Viego, we still have the Tiny Spear to get additional units on board. Gotta be close, though. Gotta be close. We currently have to block all of this, right? We don't want to just be taking 4 from the Encroaching Mist and then dying to an Atrocity. Getting pretty close to flipping his Viego as well. Okay. Oh, that's going to grow, right? His thing's going to grow to 5/5. Interesting. He didn't bring in the rest of his squad. All right. Well, here comes some dudes. We did just miss a point of attack onto the assistant librarian, but let's see if this will be enough to end the game. Of course, Aphelios shows up now. I don't think we have the time for this anymore. But like, if he blocks our big three, that would be these three on the left. We're going to be one short. Fuck. I mean, he's just going to get the opportunity to add more stuff, but we're too far away from lethal now. Say curse words. Say bad ones. Say fuck. All right, in with the double stun. This does give this to a lethal if he just doesn't have anything else to do, but I think that those quicksands are just a little bit too crushing for us. Make a meal of them, Varg. So he's currently got 4 blockers. Sure. Okay. GG. But I feel like that went fairly okay. I know we didn't win the game, but that was a game to where our game plan just did not happen, right? We drew just like the turd end of our deck, and then we're still just in it like right there to the end. I feel like that was actually a very good game, even though we weren't able to secure the victory. Much better here, starting off with the Gleaming Lantern. Definitely don't want the Hush against Annie Jen. And I'm usually not a huge fan of hanging onto these Pale Cascades. It's like we need a little bit more fairy-based interactivity here to take advantage of the Lantern. Much better here now, much better.
Night flowers upon my blade. I have my orders.
Do y'all remember when everyone was like, OMG, the Annie Gen decks are gonna break the game? And then they weren't that good. Everyone was like, OMG, Annie Gen is the most broken thing ever. I haven't played a game with it yet, but it's certainly broken. Turns out it's not the case. Follow the moon mud. Okay. Not a bad defensive position for us, and now we can start to look for a lifesteal to heal through. I think we're looking pretty decent now. We did just pick up a Face Sprout to look for something and a Afaelios to look for something. I think we look reasonably strong. This is a slightly scary attack. I don't really want to risk losing our Gleaming Lantern. So I can't remember if these like Annie Gen decks play Disintegrate in the main, and if they do, how bad is it if we get Disintegrated here? It's fairly scary. But we do get like this follow-up of Aphelios. I think we can just take this one and then have our plan now be just looking for the lifesteal weapon out of Aphelios. And so like the way I'm going to start this is I want to Face Sprout. I'd like to find a cheap fairy that we can still play this turn, which we can do in the Quick Quill. Now we can add in Aphelios. He wants to pick up the lifesteal. And let's drop the Quick Quill while we're at it. So how are we going to manage this? I want to put whatever we're going to hit with the rainbow fish is what we want to give the weapon to. Oh, the Quick Quill has the 2 attack while it's at it, though. Okay, I'm just going to drop it on Aphelios. I know if he flips, he's going to get the he's going to get the quick attack anyways, but I think this is still pretty safe. Now Fizz makes an appearance. Eh. Make a noise, just say, nah, it's whatever. Trying to think if there's like a stun or something we need to worry about. Like a Arachnoid Sentry would be pretty terrible here. We can make another moon weapon next turn, but I think if we're gonna have to say like worry about Arachnoid Sentries, then we should put the Severum onto Aphelios. Because if he's going to say stun our unit and then potentially follow up with a Ravenous Flock, I don't want the Ravenous Flock hitting our Gleaming Lantern unit. But he clearly doesn't have it at this point. Noxus Blast to avoid it, sure. Takes us to 4. Things are falling low. He's got 3 on board from the just the dudes. No chance for more moon weapons. You say we can generate a lifesteal weapon if he doesn't open on us. I'm curious what his angle of attack is here. If he has a decimate, we just lose. But if he wants to say like add more units to the board, then we're okay. Okay. So he's taken this path to where he has 4 damage of kind of unblockable AoE, right? He has 4 coming at us, but we can heal through it. So that gets us to break even. Let's just go ahead and give up on Fizz. Save ourselves a point of health. Okay. Is what it is. GG. That was tough. That one was super close. I feel like we had all the opportunities. Like just came up just a touch short. Just a touch short. We did. I think what that one comes down to was that we did have the opportunity to block that that dude with Aphelios, and then we just didn't do it. I think we should have. It's tough, right? If we had had the opportunity to get the lifesteal block in, then we would have just won the game. I think the game came down to the mistake in me not understanding that deck wasn't playing Disintegrate. I think if we had just gone for the damage prevention, we would have been okay. But it's usually like it's weird seeing like the gen decks play the full burn path these days. It's not something you see too much of anymore. We'll play a little slow against Twisted Fate Annie here. I'm not entirely sure what their early game package is going to look like. And so I didn't want to like super risk this board here. Losing Fizz is fine. He's not doing that much anyways. Oh, the Papercraft Dragons. Okay, let's just take a full bank here. If we need to get like Aphelios on board next turn, we can at least do it with the Poison Dart. He just lost out on a Twisted Fate. That's kind of interesting. No cheaty fairies today. A little unfortunate. I don't want to go like too big on like Swole Squirrel. This is, while the previous deck probably wasn't playing Disintegrates, this one most certainly is. I'm leaning towards just going with the Blast Cone Seedling here or the Quick Quill. Probably should just go with the Seedling. I don't know. It is kind of nice just to play the Quick Attacker, but I'm gonna go with the slightly bigger unit. Where's the unit summoner? Come to me, Crescendum. Own it out here, drawing cards and stuff. Disintegrate combo? Sure. Still got a ton of value out of our Aphelios here. Get him, Cyclone Bro, Tornado Warrior. Is that what you? All right. You don't get to see too much of the world these days. I'm glad to get to bring you to the party. Now the unfortunate thing here is we kind of the ship has sailed on doing too much with these Papercraft Dragons. He's going to have blockers across the board. So I think I just want to drop the Seedling. I'm going to give it Impact here. It's a little sad for him given that he can't survive Disintegrates with his barrier, but kind of is what it is at this point. Alright, dude. At least you can get those double impacts, am I right? Oh, man, maybe we should have put that onto the Tornado Warrior. I let it slip past me that the Tornado Warrior had Fearsome, but... Okay. You can technically hush this Blast Code Seedling and attack with it, and it keeps the double attack, but I don't think we have to be that all in on this board. Okay, he's about to level up his Conservatory, get the big bro. Not that big of a deal. There we go. That's a timely Aphelios. We really need the good moon weapons here. Alright, so how much can we do out of this one? I mean, I think we want to just come in and take the good blocks because we have to. It's interesting to see him attack with Annie into our unit here. I mean, I think this is fine. We're building up to playing an Owlcat, playing a Papercraft Dragon on it, and then giving it Overwhelm with Aphelios. And so I'm willing to risk the Blast Cone Seedling here a little bit to stay out of the big damage danger range. Maybe we should actually just block the big guy. We can take him down with a pokey stick later if we need to, but I like that this takes his health off of the board. I'm going to pull the Grandfather Fae back as a way to just give an additional point of damage to our Owlcat. Alright, so where are you at, Overwhelm? Are we just gonna die to this stuff? Well, I am glad to see like the interactive cards fall before we drop our Owlcat plan. But man, this is fairly scary. This guy's permanent, right? When I'm summoned, the ability happens. Yeah. Alright, so this would have looked much better as an open, but this is the world we live in, right? Hopefully he's just got a handful of units. I feel a little bit better, I think, with him playing Whispered Words. I think that should indicate that he doesn't have an answer.
Don't make me hurt you.
All right. Pale Cascade gets us up to lethal range. See if we can take down a victory. Good job, birds. Whew. That's close. That's close. GG. Give me a hit of that good water. I'm ready. I'm ready for battles now. I'm hydrated, ready to go. Okay, and the sun disk. Let's see. We'll hang on to the face sprout. Same rules still apply. What are we doing? We're gonna try and get the get the gleaming lantern onto the board. So don't have it up to this point. We'll have to do some soul searching with the face sprout. I'm gonna hang on to this spell mana. What we're gonna see with this sequence is we're gonna roll into turn 3. On turn 3, we want to play the Gleaming Lantern. I want to have the spell mana to try and pull that off. If we don't find the spell mana, or if we don't find it with the lantern, then fine. But I want to have the opportunity to play the Gleaming Lantern on turn 3 here. We were unsuccessful. So who do we want out of these? We have like some targeting stuff for the assistant librarian. I think this is going to be our safe pick. Not looking for Quick Quill or Grandfather Phase. So let's pick him up. And then I'm just going to put one of these smaller units on the board to absorb the, what are you called, the Waking Sands. And then we also don't want to put a 3-attack unit on the board. So if he does make a vulnerable attack, he's not vulnerable attacking into the unit we care about. Or he's not, like, getting the sarcophagus off of this dum-dum. There's the lantern. A little late to the party, but he shows up nonetheless. See where this gets us. It's like a tempting hush. I don't really want him getting this sarcophagus. It does two things, right? It gives him that good unit, it gives him the summons and everything, but it also gives him an additional target for the removal spell. So let's just go ahead and try and take this thing down. If he has some kind of kill for our assistant librarian, like if he's a shaped stone bro, then fine. But I feel pretty good denying him that that card. Now we're going to have to fill out this board just a little bit. I don't want to lose our librarian, and I don't want to lose our hungry owlcat. This other stuff I don't really care about at this point. Would be nice to get a Gleaming Lantern down, though. So we can cheapen up the Papercraft Dragon next turn. It's just it's not going to sequence out properly here. Okay. My research. Okay. Mana works out good here. We can drop a Lantern, we can drop a Papercraft, and then we still have access to another spell. We need to find an Overwhelm for for our Librarian, bro, but he's out here bringing the thunder as good as he can. Spirit Fire. Who cares, right? Do we care? I don't think we care. We get to keep our Lantern. That's the big thing on that turn. I mean, well, I was gonna say I'm not like really opposed to taking one of these units, like trading out the Lantern, but now that we drew the Winding Light, it's just kind of okay. I guess that's our new game plan here now. So Conchologist, Gifts from Beyond is kind of interesting. I don't think we're gonna need it, but the ability to pick up another Overwhelm could be pretty important. Let's Face Sprout and see what turns up. Lantern will let us get a full board. Okay. Let's see who we picked up. He has the champion in hand. It could either be Azir or Xerath. Who knows? All right. Well, this should get us pretty far along. He can quicksand some of this stuff, right? A lot of the value in attaches and taking down Sundisk units is the quicksand doesn't hit the actual attach. He can wipe out our Overwhelm off of the Winding Light attacks, but I mean we're still, of course, going to come in and try and take this down. If he's like blocking out here with Xerath like that, it makes me feel like little safe. Like I feel like we're pretty good there when he's getting Xerath into the mix. GG. Winding Light's been bringing some serious heat today. I was really wanting to just kind of bring out the Faeries, Poppy, Winding or Inspiring Light kind of deck. That's what it's supposed to be all about, you know, just putting Inspiring Light in every deck. But I felt like I'd give you all a break from it. It'd been a little bit too much Inspiring Light these days, so we'll switch it out for the Winding Light instead. Okay, so we finally got ourselves a start with the Gleaming Lantern. Up against Annie Swain. I'm not entirely sure what's coming out of this, but I assume it's going to be more kind of control decky, given that it has Swain attached to it. With this, I'm pretty interested in keeping the Rainbow Fish. Like, I think we could just keep all of this. They're not going to be coming at us with a lot of aggression, right? So, like, if we get this curve to where we play the land, maybe we just get rid of Aphelios. Like, I'm just like a little worried that our hand can't like effectively play stuff in the first few turns of the game. Right, I'm looking to play the Lantern on 3, follow it up with the Assistant Librarian, put the Rainbow Fish on the Librarian on turn 4. But if this was going to be one of these decks, it's like Herder, here's a Legion Rearguard, then this draw is not going to work out like that. Okay, he doesn't have Disintegrate mana here. We could run into a Ravenous Flock. I'm just going to go ahead and heal out of that. I'm not entirely sure what happens if he Ravenous Flocks our Gleaming Lantern and then we Guiding Touch it. We're going to find out. We'll call this a learning experience for you all. Right, he saved the 1 mana to get the Ravenous Flock. Deal 4 damage to a unit if it's damaged or stunned. It's no longer damaged or stunned. Looks like it does not die. Did it. Mastered the rules. Did the rules good. Learning from old Bust. You're welcome. Start with the Sprout. I kind of like the Telescope because we're running out of stuff to do, but I feel like our late game is just going to be this Winding Light. And now I'm looking more towards, well, maybe we just take the Quick Quill and put the Quick Quill on our Lantern so that it gets to keep attacking. I think that's okay. Let's lead with that. It's very suspect, though, when we put it onto the Gleaming Lantern. But, like, as we saw with that previous one, or like the last time we were up against an Annie deck, is like if they're going to play Arachnoid Sentry and target something and then try and hit it with a Ravenous Flock, I think this sequencing works out, given that he's now going to not be able to Ravenous Flock down our Assistant Librarian. So we can't attack with the Lantern, but we get the actual good attack that we wanted to now. Alright, FTP Bust bringing all the next level plays. All the big moves coming right at you. You're welcome. You're welcome. Don't say I never gave you anything. Okay, I'm not sure what's in store for our Lantern here. I do know what I want to build up to is we need to bank 1 spell mana this turn so that next turn we can drop the Winding Light. And so I want to go ahead and drop the Grandfather Fae first. It's pretty tempting to just take all this damage. Things can go wrong in terms of like Disintegrates and Ravenous Flocks and stuff. This isn't a ton of damage coming at us. So I'm just going to skip over this one. Here's a Duskbringer, here's an Owlcat. The next turn we're going to say here's a Winding Light. Boom. Yeah, look how big the squad is. So many stats. Say, squad, you deserve it. You deserve all the stats. What we got? 14, 21, 26, 32-ish? He's doing stuff, though. A Disintegrate play. Okay. Can't do anything about that. He says, Bust, that's still too much. That's too much, my dog. GG. It is interesting to note. Well, I guess he didn't like necessarily have the Disintegrate when he made that attack. He did play Whispered Words at the end of his turn there, so he had like 3 fresh cards in his hand before the next turn rolled around. But I think that was a pretty good assessment that A, he's not going to be able to kill us, and B, it does suck if he disintegrates one of our units down when we're about to make this big Winding Light attack. And so I think it's pretty safe. I don't know how much those decks play in terms of like Disintegrates and Noxus Blasts and stuff. I assume they play Noxus Blast, probably not Decimate. Maybe, well, he did play Sigil of Malice there. But he was mono Noxus, so it wasn't like there was a It wasn't like we had to worry about weird shit like double up or make it rain that you see out of the Twisted Fate versions. Oh my gosh, is the game broken? Are we gonna have to play the Porobot? Man, do you all remember Expedition? I miss it. I miss it, man. All right, please try again. No Porobots today. I don't have any big topics to talk about today. I mean, this is where we usually fill in with like fantasy football and stuff. Rob Gronkowski retired. Sad day. Sad day. If you need to see some serious gaming, you really want to learn about gaming and watch gaming videos, go watch the video of Marshawn Lynch and Rob Gronkowski playing Mortal Kombat with Conan O'Brien. Shit's cash. Marshawn Lynch is one of my favorite people in the world. He cracks me up to no end. You can also go watch the Beastquake video if you need to see Marshawn Lynch send some dudes to the netherworld. All right, but you all know what we're doing. Same strategy. We're looking for the ways to get the Gleaming Lantern on board, and then we'll go from there. So we hang on to the face sprout. We have to look otherwise. Ezreal Annie. I saw the Ezreal Annie turn up on the meta report, and then I'm also seeing Ezreal Bard turn up on the meta report, and it's hard to tell what deck is real and what's not when everyone is just like, okay, we've got Bard, let's put Bard in every deck on the planet. Didn't find our bro. So we have to ask ourselves real questions. Like, I think this is a game where we would look to lean on the tasty Feyfolk. They just getting a single lifesteal hit out of this is pretty big. I do kind of like the idea of the reusability of quick quills, but I think this is just the kind of the safer route. Like, we now have to worry about stuff like Blade's Edge Disintegrate. It's like, I know he's really going to want to take down this librarian to prevent us from drawing a card. Interesting. So I would say we're like pretty safely away from both Mystic Shots and safely away from the likes of, say, like a Blade's Edge Disintegrate. I'm going to go for Aphelios and pick up the unit. It's like I just don't want to get too heavily involved in a single unit. They're so good at like dealing with one big target. This is just another game where it's like, well, we got the Winding Light, I guess. You know, like, I guess we can drop a Winding Light here. No problems with that.
Nothing's more exciting than an unsolved mystery.
But you got 3 damage to a follower. Looks good now. Darkness. Oh, interesting. I was like, where the hell did this darkness come from? Oh, it was the. Oh my gosh, these cards are overlapped. I hope we hit the right thing. Okay, it came from the summon. Oh, LOL. LOL. We knew it just works now, right? Now it just works. Get those protective heals coming in. It feels good. So much Annie today. It's wild how much Annie we've seen. I feel we've played 6 games. I feel like we played Annie in like 4 or 5 of them. It's incredible, like the versatility that she's had. Though, it's like everyone immediately leaned on the aggro, like really burn heavy Annie Jin stuff. And then, like, once people got a chance in the meta and to play with the cards, she like lands in both like really aggro decks, right? There's like the Annie Katarina Ziggs decks. There's a mono Annie Burn deck running around these days. There's Annie Elise running around these days, and then she fit in the kind of mid-rangey control decks as well, using the Conservatory, and pretty interesting how she's able to spread out like that and have an effect across all aspects of the meta. All right, on to the Bard deck. This is another one that's it's one of the weaker matchups. They can really come in and pick on your Gleaming Lanterns, right? They have all of those early game challengers, and especially if they hit a challenger bonus on like a Broadwing, that starts to be like a real problem for you to deal with. So let's see how this one goes. I like the idea of building up to the Gleaming Lantern, but it's like it's a big time sink just not playing anything the first 2 and 3 turns. Feel better with the Dustbringer, right? I'm trying to protect this Gleaming Lantern, and we're gonna protect it with the Pale Cascade.
My shield is yours.
Can we just safely play it? Like, is there a world where he ever just passes it back to us if we pass here? I mean, it's not the end of the world if that's what happens. Just taking a 4-hit here is not that big of a deal. And now I feel like much better getting the Lantern on board. The new question is, do we need to go for like a lifesteal play now? So say we just put down the Rainbow Fish onto something and then play. We can't Rainbow Fish plus Aphelios. I guess it's good to note that before we dive into that path. We do have the Owlcat plus Rainbow Fish possibility this turn to start getting units going. Or we could try and just go wide, which is kind of what I'm leaning towards, but it's just like as the game goes on and on, our board position just gets worse and worse against the Bard deck since the chimes load them up so much. So we lose out on a point of mana playing the Owlcat, but I think this is okay. I feel a little safe dropping the Owlcat. I mean, we could look to Owlcat and then Aphelios, and then should have thought all this before we started playing cards on the board. But we could look to Owlcat plus Aphelios and then pick up the 3 damage weapon. I think that's where we want to be. We need to hit Lifesteal next. Like, we're building up to this Rainbow Fish kind of turn. Probably do. Like, I'm not super interested in, like, getting a big wide attack in on this board since we don't have the Winding Light. We're going to have to be putting work in through the Owlcat. Well, I guess the downside to that now is if we want to play a Moon Weapon this turn, right? That wasn't a good choice. Maybe we should have picked up the double stun so that we could have played the Moon Weapon here. I think that was our mistake. Your mistake, not mine. You should have told me. We should we should have known better. Do we go for double Rainbow Fishes? I think that's where we're going to be this game. So we've protected Aphelios. We have ways to protect the Lantern. It's not, like, super important at this point. I would still love to keep it around. We'll have to see what opponent thinks here with their remaining 6 mana. He's taken down Aphelios, that's for certain. This is kind of crappy. Okay, well, we'll protect our Lantern, take down his big unit. He still has the Bard here, and we have to get this. We have to get this Rainbow Fish thing going. All right, no place better to be than all in. I love being all in. This is it just feels so good, doesn't it? Doesn't it? It feels good. It feels great. But he doesn't have like a scary enough board just yet. Like a 4 Demacia turn does not scare me whatsoever. Alright, Elusive's coming at you. He may not be able to interact with us well enough. Right? I mean, his only challenger right now is the Protege. Like, is he going to do, like, play Galio this turn? Okay. I guess you can play Galio if you want. But we do have the potential for lethal. We have the Pale Cascade for 1, the Severum for 1, the Pokey Stick for 1. If we get to play some Conchologist, we might search up some burn spells or something along the lines that way. No complaints there. What are you? Wish, Paddlestar, Blessing of Targon? Pretty tempting to pick up a Blessing of Targon. I like it. I don't think we need to go for the Hush. Right, we can protect our Lantern from this challenge with the Pale Cascade. You can just block whatever with a Conchologist, whatever is going to deal the most damage. It's like we'll take 8 this turn. Okay. Bust says, "Aight, dog. That's not enough. It's not enough. I'm drawing all the Pale Cascades." Cupcake it. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Did we do it? Well, we're all in. So, if he has a single combat or something, then he's got it. But this is our path to victory, and we're taking it. Maybe. Lame. Lame. GG. That's all you can ask for in a bad matchup, right? Get in there, get the lethal on the board. They've already played one of their 2 removal spells. That's not a bad spot to be in. It's not a bad spot. Okay, though. Let's get ourselves ready. Get in this final battle. See if we can't take down another victory for the good guys. Another one for the home team. Team winner over here. Team plays chess with friends. All right, I guess this is reasonable enough against Talia Lysandra. This is an abysmal matchup. If you go and look at like the matchup table, I think this is like a 60-40 in their favor. But we got a lot of the tools here. We have a lot of the the anti-AoE tools with the Gleaming Lantern, the Assistant Librarian, into a spell, into a Fated. So this is how you can get them. Alright, Lantern online. Now, the new question is, do we attack with the Gleaming Lantern here? Well, now that he has a Lysandra on board, things are a little different. Since we can't attack with the Lantern and actually take a Lysandra down. So I think we're just stuck attacking with the Librarian as our only option. But right, it's like it's pretty risky to get a point of health onto our a point of health loss onto our Gleaming Lantern, because it then dies to all of our opponents' AoEs. We can currently like grow this Assistant Librarian back up over 2. Damn. I was ready to pop a rainbow fish onto this Librarian and I'll be off to the races. Maybe we should have led with the Dustbringer, because I don't really want to block this Curator now.
Night
Okay.
flowers upon my blade.
These Pokesticks are slow. Alright, ultimately still pretty awkward. Given that the Lysandra just kind of shuts down all of our attacks. We can take her down if we have like a +1 attack, but we can't take her down with a Pokestick. Alright. Onward with Aphelios. I think we need to go for the double stun here. Just give us a way to shut down one of these Frozen Thralls. It's like the damage doesn't completely matter. I should say, like, the heal doesn't matter. They can OTK us so easily with a bunch of big boys.
We will resist.
Alright, well, we're doing this. Now, the new question here is going to be, does opponent have a... Three Sisters. There we go. Just took a minute for it to come to me. We'll see. We can start dropping down Pokesticks and stuff to see if we can't get a little bit of width on this board. Let's see what happens. Maybe the Assistant Librarian will survive the day. We pick something up. We picked up a Hush. I don't think that works. I don't think you can Hush the Librarian and pick up a Fated. Man, I was hoping to not have to reveal that we had all these Pokesticks for the surprise damage, but we're just too far away without it. Okay, well,
They forced us to choose death or the blade.
maybe they just don't have anything. That's always an option, right? That's always an option. Maybe they just don't have anything. Oh, we didn't want this one. We should have played Gifts from Beyond first. Whoops. Alright, well, we got our 12 damage on board. I don't feel like it's going to be enough, but if they don't have anything, we win the game. That's where we're at. That's where we're at. Okay. GG. And so yeah, not a bad set of games. Not a bad set of games. Again, that Talia Lissandra matchup is pretty bad. That Bard matchup is pretty bad, but everything else along the way isn't that bad. And so I'm curious again, kind of like where we stand with this deck. I thought the games were going to go like a little bit smoother. I don't know if this was just because we played against like Anifest 2020 today, or if it was because the deck just isn't that good anymore. It's tough for me to kind of like discern if the differences are that big. And I mean, I guess I could see a lot of that. Like, you know, this deck was at its peak in again, like right before the World Walker came out. It had a pretty weak matchup against Yuumi Pantheon, but if you were playing like best of 3 or if you're playing in seasonals, you could just look to ban Yuumi Pantheon, and then this was pretty strong against the majority of the format. And it just feels like it should be in kind of like a similar space, but I'm not sure if like the Annie decks are a real chore or a real pain or not. But at the end of the day, I know we have had a lot of success with the Winding Light. I was actually, like, before we got this video together, I was kind of like trying to theory craft a kind of like Bard-based Targon strategy that closes out with the Winding Light. It didn't quite come together to me as much as I would have wanted it to, but like it's one of those cards that really gets me thinking just because it's so powerful. And as you know, the thing that kind of like comes to mind to me. Oh my god, we got a cat. We got Kitty here, and he's just being a little shit. He's trying to chew on all my cords and everything. You're on the internet, bud. You're on the YouTube. But you know, like the way that like Magic got pushed directionally is that creatures should be on the board and interacting with each other. And I think they'll take, you know, like a lot of that stance with Runeterra. I don't think we'll see too many like metas where things like the Shellfish deck or the Shellfolk deck or the things where like Nami decks are going to be that big. And I think we'll, like, as time goes on, we'll see more and more of these things like Bard decks that just involve a lot of like putting units on the board and trading stats back and forth. And if you ever find yourself in a space like that, the Winding Light is incredibly powerful. And so I think that's kind of like my takeaway, at least from this. I still stand by Fizz Riven just being absolutely spectacular. You know, I guess if Annie starts to make a rise and you're seeing a lot of decks play like Disintegrate Blade's Edge, then it starts to fall down a little bit because a lot of your game plan does involve like winning with just Riven because you didn't draw Fizz. But I still think that the Fizz Riven deck is probably the best. It's easy to say it's the best Fizz deck, but it's still up there in the top of the meta that doesn't see much play. In terms of Fizz decks here, we didn't really get Fizz going at any point today. You know, it is nice to try and get that spell shielded Fizz like OTK thing kind of going. That was just kind of like nowhere on our radar today, though it was a lot easier to pull off with the Hungry Owlcats. But I think again, I'm getting rambly and I'm starting to stray away. I think where I'm trying to land is I think the best kind of like Papercraft Dragon / Fizz deck is going to be Fizz Riven. We do need to keep like Winding Light in the back of our heads, especially as we're about to see a round of nerfs and buffs and things happen within the next week. And then I think we also need to keep in mind that Faeries are still a thing, right? If you're playing against decks to where their game plan is to play like Blade's Edges and Disintegrates and stuff like that, they're playing like a bunch of really bad removal spells. That's when a kind of like go wide strategy can have some potential to pop off, and that's what Faeries is potentially quite good at. But hey, that's going to do it for us today. So I hope everyone enjoyed the video. You learned how to wind your lights down a little bit more, maybe learned a thing or two along the way and had a good time watching. This is Bust, and we thank you for being here.